Here we go. We got Daniel versus Tricky, a best of 5. This is another qualifying match. The winner here will move forward to day 2 of Qual 2. You're unsure of Salt Mine and how it works. There are 4 qualifiers. Each qualifier is wide open. So listen here, you can sign up. If you would like to play Daniel or First Killer or Chronic or any of these high-level players that maybe you watch in RLCS, give it a go. I've actually got a link here in the chat if you are feeling froggy. You do !SM register. That will take you to the link. We've got, as I said, a best of 5 here between Tricky and Daniel. I'm sure Daniel needs no introduction. And Tricky is a fantastic 1v1 player. Actually, regularly plays some of your favorite pros when they are streaming or doing YouTube videos. I know for sure I have seen some AppJack YouTube videos playing Tricky, and he's got nothing but praise for Tricky. So while Daniel's clearly the favorite here, he's going to have to be careful to, play a well-rounded game. Tricky's air dribble. It's not enough to get past Daniel, but he will keep him pinned deep and steal the corner boost away. Daniel's going to have to back off to the midfield, refill the tank. Now he's got the resource advantage. Tricky, low boost. That corner's not going to spawn in time. Incredible save from Tricky. Still pinned deep on low boost. Daniel. What? What is that touch? Hits the flip reset, and the finest of touches will knock it past Tricky. Daniel's got a second goal. Flip reset, has a little bit too much juice on the flick. Daniel hits the backboard, but he will maintain control. Pull things back to his own back corner before beginning another aerial play. Maybe a bump. Nope, Tricky. Able to avoid it. This is off target. Daniel needs to make a touch. Oh my, what a save, in and out. Daniel. Quick recovery. Bails him out in defense, and he turns it into a scoring opportunity the other direction. Tricky, a wise assessment of the situation, knows he has time for the corner boost, sneaks out, puts together a full field air dribble flip reset play, but again, just not enough to get past Daniel. Open double. Dan buries it. 4-0. Another flip reset for Daniel and another goal. He's cooking. He is cooking. Tricky makes an adjustment. This time he goes up off the ceiling to shut down any of those high altitude flip resets Daniel has been throwing at him. But game 1, I do think, is out of reach. We'll see what Tricky can bring to the table in game 2. Daniel puts home a 6th. Tricky will get his first opening goal. It's a little late. But, you know, as they say, better late than never. Flip reset musty attempt for Daniel. No good. Tricky up the left wall. What does he have for us? There's another flip reset musty. This time his is a bit too much power. And Daniel will roll in the open net for a 7. Turtle goal. Style points. Tricky decides to run the clock down, doesn't want the second goal, instead wants to get to game 2. Game 1 goes to Dan. Dan has hopped into an Octane. Why not? Mix it up, have some fun. Full field aerial play to open game number 2. Oh! Okay! Daniel! A spicy start in game 2. Tricky with an early reset, has it up high. Can't get much power using the dodge. But he will get another opportunity here. Unable to make much of it, so Daniel takes over again from the backboard. Another full field air dribble. We see the flip reset once more, but this time it's off target, so Tricky will take over. Has his shot blocked by Dan. Tricky will eventually work his way past Daniel. Takes him a couple of tries, but he will get his first goal and equalize. Game 2, we're tied up at 1. Daniel wins the following kickoff. Big resource advantage. Takes it up high. Unable to get past Tricky. But baits him into a corner boost grab. Daniel had an open net to look at, but sent it wide. So Tricky from the right wall. Flip reset, looks for the dunk, and he's got it. Tricky making sure to capitalize when Daniel provides him the opportunity. Potentially another chance for Tricky. He wants an air dribble bump, but he's actually knocked it too high. A critical mistake, and Daniel will be walking home an easy open net. 0 boost. I mean, that is That's a tough sequence there. Tricky had huge boost advantage. Had Daniel on 0, pinned back in his net, and just couldn't make it happen. But Daniel the other way. A flawless reset to the top right corner. Daniel reclaims the lead. Tricky follows it up with a kickoff goal. 3-3. Daniel reset once again. Good for a fourth. Uh-oh, Tricky may have botched the kickoff there. Fortunately for him, Daniel may not have spotted it or taken advantage of it. Controlled air dribble for Daniel. And an easy save for Tricky. Long recovery, and Tricky will be putting home a fourth. Daniel put together a nice play, but Tricky with a better save. Oh! That was a sneaky chip shot. Tricky caught that at the perfect moment on the bounce. And now he's got a 6. He's up by 2. Stole Daniel's boost as well. A couple of wall dashes and a desperate dive to get back into defensive position, but no good for Dan. He's down by 3. Daniel will get 1. He's got 62 seconds to play. Lots of time here for Dan. Although that time is quickly running out, Tricky doing a good job of draining the clock here. This could be an opportunity. Tricky, again, draining a bit more time. Daniel shot to the far side. Just enough. Tricky, just a hair out of position. And now Daniel's back within 1. He'll win the race to the midfield boost. Tricky will have to back off. Daniel setting up a hook shot. Sends it high. Tricky. He jumps, and it proves to be a fatal mistake. Daniel snipes the bottom left corner. He's tied it up. Oh, no. Tricky. Wait. He got bailed out. Daniel, a poor recovery there. So we head to overtime. Delayed kickoff. Hold on. It may go straight in. It's bouncing off the post, but Tricky's there. The series is tied at 1-1. Daniel wanted to get a bit cheeky on the kickoff, and it cost him. Bump attempt from Dan. No contact. Dom, the 5 gifted subs. What a legend. Dom, thank you, bro. I appreciate that. This is for the 5 gifted subs. Dan, give us a clip. Oh, Tricky with the save. All right, maybe Tricky will give us a clip. Low boost. Let's see what he can put together. Low and slow play, air dribble cringe. You gotta love it. Dan's just gonna loft a high shot towards the target. Push Tricky back and give himself time for a boost pickup. That's a very telegraphed dive from Dan, and an easy flick for Tricky. You can see it right there as the replay begins. Tricky has Daniel in his sights the entire time. Now Tricky running with the momentum from last game with a 2-0 start here in game 2, or excuse me, game 3. Wow, that is actually insane. Daniel was just like 2 seconds ahead of exactly what Tricky was going to do. Daniel reading the future, seemingly. Here he is. This is dangerous place for Tricky. Giving Daniel time and space. He mixes up his approach on defense. A couple of fake challenges. Oh no. Wait. Oh no. Tricky! No! Tricky with an own goal. He hit it too hard. Couldn't chase it down. He just wanted to retain control and pull it back into his corner, back into his own side. But unfortunately for Tricky, a little bit too much pace on it. Daniel with a quick turn on the challenge this time. No, Tricky! I mean, listen, I hate to do this, but I have to look. Daniel's bumped him. Tricky's doubled it. No! Disaster strikes. Tricky back-to-back. Tricky is basically winning 4-0. Okay. Oh, I thought he was about to save it. Oh, my gosh. Tricky has scored all 5 goals. Oh, I'm too old for that. Please don't flick the rear view camera so fast. It's gonna break my eyes. Good read from Daniel. He's made the save. Now he's heading the other direction. Well-timed flick gives him a third. We're tied up with 1:50. Pretty good bounce for Tricky, but Daniel will be back in time. See what Tricky can put together up here. Early reset. Another musty attempt this time. No flick, so it actually ends up going under the challenge. A little trickery, if you will. Dan with the following possession. Air dribble bump attempt. He's taking it quite slow, which provides Tricky the time to work around the bump attempt. And an early flick. Again, Dan is just, he's approaching from the side right there. And we're going to see it right here really quickly. But Tricky can spot him the whole way. You see it right there. He sees Daniel approaching. It's different when Daniel's hidden behind the ball, but when you're over there to the side, Tricky can see it and just fire that flick whenever he needs. Daniel with a mistake up there on the ceiling will be conceding again. Tricky's up by 3 in the final minute. Tricky with the following possession. He's not going to run the clock down. He's going to keep trying to score. Final 30 seconds. He's got Daniel in a bind back here in the corner. Daniel with about a third of a tank. That is a big flick, but Tricky is positioned cautiously. And I think that's going to do it. Tricky will take game 3 and be up 2-1 in the series on match point. Daniel did hop out of the lobby. I'm assuming that he is changing cars. And he's pulled out the Vitality Finnick. Daniel with the first possession. Unable to get past Tricky. And Tricky will open the scoring in game 4. Low 50. Absorbs a challenge. Holds on to possession. Scores on an open net. Daniel up high, finds the far post. A well-placed shot will give Daniel his first goal in game 4. He'll have the next possession as well. Flip reset attempt thwarted by Tricky. Oh, that is a great flick. Look at the angle change on this. Tricky moving from right to left on the field and throws it back to the right side of the net. Air dribble bump from Daniel. Oh, wait. Tricky recovers. Actually, Daniel ends up saving it. He'll have another opportunity, and he will put that one home. Daniel's tied it up. Early flick, too much power. Dan sends it over the top of the target. Dan's got some space to work with. Not the greatest first touch. That boost isn't going to spawn. Tricky once again, looking for the top corner with the flick. He'll get demoed, and Dan will have a wide open net and a lead. Dan foregoes the flip reset in favor of a standard air dribble, prioritizing the recovery instead. Stole Tricky's boost. Now Tricky has to delay until that corner does spawn, but it gives Dan the time necessary to set up a flick, and he's found the top shelf for a fourth goal. 2:47 to play. Tricky. You can see him pull that over towards the midfield boost right there, and then immediately direct right back towards the target. But that slight turn towards the side gave Daniel the confidence to push forward when maybe he shouldn't have. Near side spawn for Tricky. Results in the big clear. Dan has some space to work with. Flick once again just a bit too high, and that boost is not going to spawn in time. We've seen this happen a couple times as Daniel launches from the wall. The midfield boost just not there yet. Tricky absorbs a 50 in the corner, and a dish to equalize. Oh, that's nice. Air dribble reset for Dan. He's back on top. Should have the following possession as well. Early reset for Dan. Tricky off the ceiling. It's a bait challenge, though. Daniel slow and controlled on the air dribble. Earns him a sixth. Tricky perched up high. to stop Daniel once more, and the air dribble bump is good from close range. Tricky with a phenomenal setup, just nowhere for Daniel to go. Bounce dribble for Dan. And he rips a shot behind Tricky, but it's off the crossbar, post, and out. He's going to play it safe here. Once again, Dan playing it safe. Tricky with a great recovery. And now Daniel's got to hustle back. Tricky, low boost. He will get the midfield. Daniel's aggression will slow down the press. Now Daniel needs to be extra careful. He's having his boost stolen. Tricky gets another big boost grab. But Dan, the discipline, remains active on the play. Calm and collected, flicks towards the target. He's got a 2-goal lead. I will be uploading these to a YouTube channel. I sure will. You can do exclamation point YouTube here, or maybe YT, one or the other. And while we're plugging, obviously we've got a few folks in here. I do host some 1v1 stuff. I've been helping out with Salt Mine and ATR Cup, but I host some 1v1 show matches myself. If you guys are interested in that kind of content, consider following the channel or subscribing to the YouTube. We get to feature a lot of upcoming players, upcoming talent, players that may not get a chance to play on the big, the big dog channels like Johnny and Fear. So if you want to keep your eyes on who's next up, it's a great place to do it. Game 5. Daniel's taking his time here to ready up. Wants to make sure he's locked in. Maybe get a drink of water. It all comes down to the final game. And Tricky has been a difficult opponent. Daniel has hopped out of the Vitality Finnick in favor of the oh-so-sweaty no decal Finnick. If you're a real sweat, you absolutely have to have one of these setups in your garage. I know I certainly do. Daniel will open the scoring, 10 seconds in. Tricky shot, lacks some power there. So Daniel able to get back in time and collect that as well. In fact, he's going to turn it into a scoring opportunity. Tricky really shouldn't have been conceding here. But Daniel avoids the bump there in the midfield and knocks home a second. Daniel shows Musty Flick on that reset, but chooses against it. And I think that's what we can expect to see here in Game 5. He's going to be controlled. He's going to be playing smart, picking and choosing his time to fully commit. And there it is. Air dribble, flip reset, Musty right down the gut. Tricky gave him some space. And Daniel capitalized. Oh, that is a critical mistake. Daniel looking for a couple wall dashes on 0 boost. It just goes flailing off the wall. So Tricky gets a freebie there. He's tripped up Daniel on the following kickoff, so Tricky will have a chance Not the greatest execution, though. Daniel patiently waits for his opportunity. Reverses field. Oh! A well put together play, but Daniel actually shot it too high. Oh, another mistake. Daniel misses the corner. He's on 0. He's done well to clear it away. Should be able to at least pick up a couple pads for defense. And now he's earned himself a corner boost. Early dive for Dan. Throws a lofty shot towards the target. Tricky with an easy save. But Dan just wants to put him on the back foot. Again, long shot from Daniel. Just testing Tricky. See if he can force a mistake. But instead, it will be Tricky withstanding the press and sending home a counterattack. Tricky back within 1. He'll have to back off. Daniel's got lots of space here. Chooses to keep it grounded. Another bounce dribble. And this time he's found the top left corner. Could not have placed it more perfectly. Daniel back up by 2. Another possession for Dan. He chooses once again to reverse the field. Turtle flick. Gives Dan his 5th. Just kind of baits Tricky into a poor spot. Tricky operating on pads. Daniel rips a shot, but Tricky's got the save. Unfortunately for Tricky, he does have another corner boost stolen, and now Dan in no rush to take the ball down to Tricky. He's trying to wrong foot him here. Nearly got him, but Tricky with the backflip will keep Daniel at bay. Tricky, slow and controlled on offense. But he eventually works it past Daniel for a 3rd. 1:20 on the clock. We are in Game 5. Winner of this will move forward to Day 2 tomorrow. Daniel with a reset. Another musty flick. Maintains good position. So he'll be able to back off to the midfield. Oh, but an early dive for Dan. Hold on, he may have overextended here. Tricky collects it and walks it for a 4th. Uh-oh. $60 left. Tricky wins. Oh my goodness, Daniel won the race to the boost. I thought for sure Tricky had that. Daniel's flick forces a poor save, and he's there for the rebound. Delayed kickoff by Tricky, but it's countered well. Daniel now, flip reset. Musty flick to the top left corner. Clean execution from Dan. As Tricky dismounts from the backboard, Dan spots the opening. Again, Dan choosing the safe route. Tricky's on 0 boost. Does well to avoid the demo. Actually steals both the big pads along this left side. Daniel staying goal side with it. But Tricky has bumped him away. He'll be scoring a 5th. 13 seconds left. 2-goal deficit for Tricky. He's got a tough task ahead. But we've seen some crazy stuff unfold in ones. Tricky with another possession, but Daniel's clear there. That will run enough time off the clock. GG's. A valiant effort, but a Game 5 victory for Daniel. He'll move forward to day 2 of the Salt Mine Qualifier.